Okay, the first thing that I want to talk about is the calendar, which isn't out yet because we don't have the article for the back. But I do want to call to your attention that after service, on next Sunday, July 2nd, we'll have a 4th of July celebration including hot dogs and apple pie and any side dish that you're famous for. We would really like you to bring a nice side dish, even if it's a bag of potato chips. And then next Thursday on the calendar is Intuitive Tarot with Janice, and that costs $20. It starts at 6 p.m. and goes to 7:30. So can people in the back hear me okay? Cool. Good deal. Oh. Well, can you hear me now? Yes. Okay. I don't know where to put this. Here we go. We're having so much fun. Okay. One thing that I wanted to share right away is quotes from our patron saints, John Lennon and George Carlin. Yay, George and John, yeah, or John and George, yes. So one of the ones from John Lennon that I really, really liked, especially in light of the last few days when I've been really lazy, is time you enjoy wasting was not wasted. And I thought about that, and I thought the reason that it feels like it's wasted is because I feel guilty. So don't feel guilty. Just think, wow, that was great. I enjoyed that. And then George said, no one knows what's next, but everybody does it. You know, the next minute is going to happen whether we like it or not. And I borrowed some of Phil's stuff, but I hope I'm not doing anything he's done terribly recently. But I thought these were kind of interesting. It says this is things that make you go, I think. And it says botanically? Botanically, like plants? But yes, botanically. Okay. Botanically speaking, the banana is an herb. The jalapeno is a fruit. And apples and peaches are members of, anybody know what family they come from? The rose family. Isn't that interesting? Pineapples, oranges, lemons, watermelons, and tomatoes are all berries. The strawberry is the only fruit with seeds on the outside of its skin. And eating celery really does burn calories. They aren't burned while you're chewing, it's in the digestion process. So I always thought they were wonderful, although, it's not my favorite. So, and I looked for, pardon? There we go. I looked for some bad puns this morning to share with you. And a lot of punning depends on how you say it, where you put the emphasis in the sentence. One is shout out to anyone who doesn't know the opposite of in. So how that should be said is shout out to anyone who doesn't know the opposite of in. In, out, in. Okay. When past, present, and future walk into a bar, things tend to get really tense. And to the person who invented the number 0, thanks for absolutely nothing. Let's see if there's any others that I couldn't. Oh, never trust stares. They're always up to something. I like that one because it's true. Yeah. Okay, sleeping is so easy for me, I could do it with my eyes closed. And then a few others that are, it's signage at this veterinary clinic, I think in Connecticut. They post these really cute signs all the time, and these are some of them. If you love someone, let them nap. Dogs are living proof that good still exists in the world. And if a black cat crosses your path, he probably has some important cat stuff to do. And cats can memorize 120 commands, they just don't want to. Let's see. Home is where the dog hair sticks to everything but the dog. Yeah. I'm sorry, said no cat ever. This is true. And then I came across a cute little story here. It's sort of a play on Rudyard Kipling's poem, If. If you can start the day without caffeine, if you can always be cheerful, ignoring aches and pains, if you can resist complaining and bring people with your trouble, boring people with your troubles, I can't even read my own handwriting. If you can eat the same food every day and be grateful for it, if you can understand when your loved ones are too busy to give you any time, if you can take criticism and blame without resentment, if you can conquer tension without medical help, if you can relax without alcohol, and if you can sleep without the aid of drugs, then you are probably the family dog. So, I think that's enough to get us started. There we go.
Very good.
Very good.
Yay! Show! There we go. Hi, everybody online. Just as some background, guys, online, we are subbing in for Janice and Phil, and obviously the techniques for starting YouTube were, starting Facebook were a little bit beyond us. So thank you for your patience. Janice asked me to talk a little bit today about my experience at the Healing Light Expo this year doing crystal grid readings. And I know some of you experienced that, and some of you are probably completely new to that as well. The crystal grid that I helped and worked with or played with people so that they could develop, the theme of the grid was the joy is within. And it was I was so honored to have that experience, because what happened is a lot of people had this, they almost teared up, right? They just had this emotional response to it, and it was happy tears, though. It was a happy response. It was as if, you've been on a very long hike and suddenly you take that load off your back and you just go, oh. Because as people connected in with their joy, they went, oh my gosh, it was so simple. It was so easy to connect into my joy, but I had forgotten how to do it, and I had forgotten that it was there. And I'll talk a little bit more about the crystal grid and the symbols with it, because I actually did a crystal grid reading for all of us, and I'll walk you through it. But I just want to share a little bit first, a little bit more about joy. And more specifically, some of the stuff that I pick up from, some of you might remember back in April I did a talk on what I call the Sage Dawn process. And if you weren't there, that's fine. But I shared with you at that time that there's a Laurel Mellon, and she has this book called Wired for Joy. And she describes that we have, she describes like our stress level, our fear level, from a scale from 5 where we're really stressed out to 1 where we're at our joy state. And part of what she describes there is that we have a set point that we keep on going back to. And so no matter, a lot of times we have these wonderful spiritual practices, but way, way back when, we were kind of programmed to view the life through a certain filter. So all the time we're going back and forth on the scale, but we have a default setting, a set point to go back to. And the key to going out of that set point and changing our filter from fear towards joy is doing something repetitive. And so that's where I shared with you the Sage Dawn process. Sage being smile, A is affirmation or a power statement, G is gratitude, and E is exhale and let go. And what I recommended is that you come up with your own Sage process and use it over and over and over to help shift your filter. And then the Dawn is divine connection. Remember your divine connection. And perhaps one of my favorite affirmations of all time is to really sit with whatever your emotion is and recognize that I can be divinely connected and afraid. I can be divinely connected and sad. I can be divinely connected, and that's a lifesaver for me, because that remembering my divine connection allows me to really experience that feeling. And then appreciation is the A in Dawn. W is using your wonder and your curiosity, and N is probably the most important of all. Whatever your experience is, to notice it without judgment. So when we shift, and the reason that we have our fear filter is part of our survival. But what she describes is that joy is something we are also programmed for as individuals, because as a collective, that state up here is where we thrive. This is where we grow, and this is where we evolve. And I think it's very heartening that sometimes we think that, oh, I'm just always programmed for fear. The truth is, you are indeed programmed for that joy as well. And as I started doing Sage Dawn more and more, I started experiencing that that joy state more easily and more frequently. And the ancient ones really share some of those things that happen once we get into that joy state, and some awareness. The first thing, and perhaps the inspiration for my crystal grid, is we start to realize that the joy is within us. It's there. You know, those people that came up for a crystal grid reading could have been all different places, but when they realized what their joy was, it was like that quick to switch into your joy. So the key is remembering to connect in to that joy. Another thing is joy is not impacted by outside circumstances. That's huge. You know, happiness is very much outside. Joy, I think, is a little bit a step above happiness. It's independent. Because that joy comes from within, the ancient one says it allows you to venture into great sadness without being diminished by it. Isn't that very cool? And I want to let you to know is that includes your own sadness. You can venture into your own sadness without being diminished by it when you are connected into that joy. And for me, when I do that and I'm really feeling something and I say, okay, I'm going to connect in with my joy, it feels like a warm hug. It feels like a warm blanket. It's like, man, I'm scared and I'm frightened, but I got that joy, that light within me. And it's really very beautiful. Joy is healing. And this is literal. I mean, it changes our blood vessels and all that. And energetic. Because as our joy fills our energy, it starts clearing our energy system. And it is a wonderful way to get into a healing. Joy is contagious. I experienced that as people did their crystal good readings and connected to their joy. I was like, whoa, this is very cool, because I could feel the joy. And you just can't be around somebody tapped into that deep wellspring of joy and not help but be changed by that. And I know so many of you here do that for me. And that's something I think we can do for each other. Joy is expansive and attractive. When you are in that joy state, good things come your way. You're attracted to it. When you're in that joy state, you start to be able to tap into your intuition. It's more spot on. You hear God's messages. You're open for God's messages. So it's expansive and attractive. And then last of all, joy gives us clarity and purpose. We all think about, what's my life purpose, or what am I doing? It's in that joy state that you know that right next step. And when you follow your joy, you're following your life purpose. It just goes. It just goes. It just will take you there. So how do we find our joy? And I kind of come through a lot of Janice's and the Ancient One's teachings, and I came up with a 6-step process to joy. And of course, the Sage Dawn process is something that is very much a part of that you can use to help get you towards joy. And of course, before you do any of these 6 steps, is to really tune into yourself and say, where am I now? And honor whatever your experience is. It's all good, because by knowing the 2 things that really keep us from our joy are self-blame and guilt. Those are emotions that we can tend to hide away in. And if you really go and be quiet and say, honestly, what am I feeling now? Without being absorbed by it, but going, my self-blame, actually, I'm angry. My guilt, maybe that's grief. And you really start connecting into it and just remind yourself, and I can be divinely connected. And I can be divinely connected, and honestly feel that. And then start into the joy process. And step 1 is to choose joy. We set so many goals for ourselves, don't we? We have the goals to lose weight, the goals to have more money, the goals to be more successful. You know those goals, right? What if you set a goal to bring more joy into your life? I mean, isn't that really a lot of what's behind our other goals anyways? Go straight to it. I want more joy. And when you set that intent that you want more joy, the universe starts accommodating you. It's magical things happen. And I know, because I've gone on this journey some. I'm a work in progress. But it does. And it's amazing, just even wanting to talk about joy, all of a sudden things and stories about joy start showing up. Step number 2, remember joy exists. Oh, my life's miserable. It's always been miserable. No, you've had joy moments. We've all had joy moments. Remember those joy moments. A couple things with that. Janice suggests that if you're really at that stage where you're not remembering joy, to make that divine connection and ask God, or whatever you believe, to light up your memories. And when you light up your memories, you're going to be able to find that joy memory, or at least that feeling of the joy memory. As an aside, I will share one hint, because I think it applies to everybody here. Have you ever had that moment where there's been a synchronicity or a God message where you go, I cannot make this stuff up? That's a joy moment. And it was funny how much that showed up in my reading. And I went, well, yeah, that makes sense. For people at Healing, we have a lot of intuitive people. And when you remember that, that's a joy moment. Which goes to my next step 3, is to collect joy moments. And actually when I asked, kind of tuned into the Ancient Ones, I said, what's really important? They actually said this step was. They sent me straight to that article, because they have a process where you tap in the truth of something. So tap in the joy. So when you have a joy moment, like just, think about those times May told me a story, where those synchronicities happen and you go, I can't believe it. Go, stronger, stronger, stronger. Stronger, stronger, stronger. And when you need to remember joy moments, that one's locked into your energy system. So make a point, be an adventurer, collect joy moments. And the last, step 4, not the last one, is create joy moments. How many people remember Christopher? Mm-hmm. Yeah, quite a few. And some of you may not. Christopher was here for years and years. He was a master creator of joy moments. And, oh my gosh, there's so much to say about that, but I think you get that joy moments, first of all, require you to be present and aware. They move you into a state of gratitude, if you're in a state of gratitude. Laughter, humor, that's a big thing. I almost call this step as discover delight. And so if you ever have a pet doing a crazy little thing, right? They're great for joy moments. Just sit down and allow yourself to be really present to that and really build it. Just allow yourself to delight in that. Christopher, I remember him coming in and telling stories about his chickens. Oh, I love my girls. We just sit down and I just spend so much time, and he could spend a whole Sunday service on a story about his chickens and just being present to it. So that's step 4, is create joy moments or discover your delight. And step 5 is enjoy all the benefits of joy. When you're in there and you're in that joy, that's the time to do your manifesting. That's the time to ask for guidance. That's the time to just bask in it, essentially. So really enjoy the benefits of your joy moments. And the more you enjoy them, the more you'll have those moments, and the more you'll be propelled forward on your path. And then last of all is to share the joy, right? It overflows us, and again, it's like a wellspring you tap into. You don't get diminished by it. You just bubble over and you share the joy, and just bless other people with that joy, which, again, I know so many of you do so naturally. Okay, so now our joy reading. Okay, so let me see if I can pull this out. I'm going to show the people online. This is my crystal grid. You guys, I tried to make it. I'm so bad at penmanship and all that, but anyways, it's up there. Okay, so this is a triangle grid, and it represents mind, body, and spirit. And the name of the grid is The Joy is Within You. And the center of the grid is this very, very cool symbol, or I think a lot of you might call it a sigil. And it was developed by the Swami, I'm reading it now, Swami Kriyananda. And I know nothing about the man, but I do love his sigil. And for the purposes of my crystal grid reading, the bottom of this, this is what I'm going to do. Make this bigger. There. The bottom is a mountain. And that represents your thoughts, it's the mind category. It represents your thoughts, your emotional brain, your thinking, your hopes, your dreams. It is that for which you build upon. It is your mountain. It is your strength from which you, being that little bird that you are, takes off and spirals high from that strong foundation. And as you take off and spiral high, this little bird contacts spirit. That is all those wonderful expansive moments where we have and connect with spirit. And so the stone in this position is Spirit's blessing, the energy that Spirit is giving to you. And then last of all, we've had those moments, and it is in our heart to come back and to share that. And so the bird flies back down to share that joy, that moment of blessing, and to put it in action into their life and to share with others. And in that, so that's the body position, that's joy in action. And a lot of times you will find hidden or not so hidden within that a lot of your life purpose and a lot of what you share with others. And so to do that, I need to pull out my crystals and my cards and share with you the reading. So, first off, a lot of these cards I created myself. So first off, I say, okay, so for you, for us collectively, what is our divine role in this grid? And I pulled the cards, and what I got was divine messenger, making joyful and exciting discoveries. How appropriate is that, right? Because first off, the divine messenger is a little bird flying high. And the fact, making joyful and exciting discoveries. That's perfect for a joy grid and as our divine role. Next, I pull a center crystal. And this center crystal, very, very quickly, we just did do the summer solstice, right? And in traditional Chinese medicine, this is when we start to go into the energy of our heart, which is represented by the energy of joy. So the timing of this is very, very appropriate. Opposite of that is winter. And we just so happen to be 6 months, from Christmas, right? And 6 months from the winter solstice. And that's the kidney energy. And if you have that out of balance, the negative energy is fear. And so what happens is that's a water element. So the water puts out your fire. So it's really important that you have your winter and summer balanced. There's a whole discussion of that, but my crystals very much reflected the summer-winter dichotomy, because right in the center is I got snowflake obsidian. And so I wanted to give that as a background. And that message that I wrote on this particular card was, it's a calming and soothing stone that provides balance, body, mind, and spirit. And it helps you reduce wrong thinking. So that energy is at that balance energy. I just thought, when I picked that one, I'm like, that's perfect for the center of the mind, body, spirit grid. The next is our thinking, the mountain from which we build on. And I knew I had it for the right group because I got what's called a brachiated red jasper, and the message on that one is be yourself. And then I pulled for that a clarifying card. And the clarifying card for it was DNA. And the thing with the red out here, it's hard to see on that, but for you guys to see, it's the imperfections that make it beautiful. Really, when you look at all Jaspers, but especially these particular ones, they have writes about it. He talks a little bit about that. Our life purpose is one of the strands within that. So, our mountain, be yourself. Then the card, the crystal that I picked, and again, that red is summer energy. So now for spirit, I got hematite. And the message for that one is this beautiful image of a wolf. And the message is focus. And it says, It has a grounding energy, and it helps you when you're feeling scattered and unfocused. And helps you increase your feelings of self-worth. And it's also a very protective stone. So the stone brings in the energy of focus. But to go with that is the message of love. So together, focus on love. And that's Spirit's blessing to us, is that energy that will help us focus on love. And again, remember, I've got love and I've got the wolf because it's relevant now as I move to the body crystal. How do we put that into action? Well, the crystal I got was rose quartz, and it's love. And for those of you who don't know, we have a rose quartz grid within this church. And so I love that we are all connected into that beautiful love energy. And the card that I got to clarify it was a wolf. And so, I know, isn't that pretty cool? So Spirit is blessing us with that ability to focus and on love. And what this is saying is we're being gifted this love, and to trust and have faith in ourselves as we go forth and share that love with others. So, any questions on that grid?
That's good.
It just felt, there's so much symbolism in it with the seasons and with this church and everything that we do. But to recap, it's the mountain to build upon is our individuality and uniqueness. From there, we're able to focus on love. And then back down, we get to put that love into action. And I think of our circle that we do at the very end, right? And to do that.
I was curious on the clarification cards, because you brought the wolf, brought the second one, and there was an earlier one. Is that kind of a mechanism that makes it work, or is that a guide to assist?
Yeah, so thank you for that question. Because the crystal represents the energy that we are bringing in. The clarifying card that I use helps us understand how to apply it in our life. So we are bringing in the energy from Spirit of focus. How do we apply it in our life is love. We are bringing in the energy, of putting it into action of love. And how do we put it into action? Trust our instincts, have faith in ourselves. Chuni Lin always says that faith in yourself is one of the most critical things, one of the most important factors for your healing power. It's just knowing that we are connected in with that universe and that we can have faith with ourselves. So that said, anybody want to be a crystal keeper? Because I'm just going to quickly, what I like to do is just do a meditation afterwards. Would anybody like to be the holder? And thank you. Just take a few breaths.
All dark.
That's fine. That's great. And on the exhale, just in your mind, just say, I release all that's blocking me from joy. And just on the exhale, let it go. And you can imagine that inhale and exhale all that is not joy. one more inhale. And again, exhale that which is not joy. And with other people. So we will start now by imagining in your hand that you have the first crystal, the center crystal, and it is a snowflake obsidian, and that you are holding that crystal in your hand. And as you hold the snowflake obsidian, it's this black crystal with little white dots on it. You feel like you're in a winter wonderland. It's so magical. And it could be that the crystal's gotten much bigger, or it could be that you're much smaller. But you are inside this crystal and surrounded by this beautiful winter wonderland. And maybe you picture a snow globe and you feel so safe and so protected and so magical. You might even notice others within the church there, or you might notice animals. You know, the little cute little animals and the squirrels and all that joining you in this winter wonderland. And you take a moment and just really feel that joy of being in this setting. And then as you're standing there, you notice that you have your red jasper. And so you pick up the red jasper and add that into your palm, in your hand. And you look down at it and you see all these lines and all these little designs on it. And you go, oh my gosh, that is so beautiful. And then the red jasper giggles. And then you got to giggle because you've never heard a stone giggle before, have you? And you're just delighted to connect with this piece of red jasper. And you tell the red jasper, oh, you are so beautiful. And the red jasper says, just like you. I am beautiful just like you. And all of a sudden, you realize that perhaps there's been things that you thought of were less than perfect. And this red jasper reassures you that you are perfect just the way you are. And within all those little things that you thought you're falling short, or those are little quirks, that there's really part of what God created into you and part of who you are and what you came here to do. It's in your DNA. With that joy of feeling that beauty within yourself, you start to feel your energy expand. And you pick up the piece of hematite and add that into your hands. You look at the hematite and it actually reflects a picture of yourself. And you might even think, wow, I feel like I look different. Because you're seeing that love and joy that's within inside of you. And at your corner, a wolf comes and sits down next to you. And this wolf is here to keep you safe, to protect you, and to remind you to have faith in yourself. And you expand and then you expand and you focus on your heart space for a moment. And as you focus on your heart space, you start to bring in love. And you feel that love coming into your body, into your cells, into your DNA. Blessing and healing you from the inside. You are full of love. And in that fullness of love, you feel joy. And you go, oh my gosh, this is wonderful. And this is something I want to share with others. And you start to bring your awareness back into your winter wonderland. And you reach down and you pick up the rose quartz. It's as if you were given a piece of love to carry with you at all times, because you are love. And in that knowledge you are love makes you joyful. And you go, oh my gosh, but how do I share that love? How do I keep connected to you, that love? And you hear this voice say, have faith in yourself. You know how to do it. And from this higher perspective, you know the truth of that. And you feel that wolf energy again right next to you. And this is an animal guide that's going to perhaps stay with you. It's there to remind you to trust yourself and trust your instinct and have your faith in your ability to share love out in the world. Holding the stones in your hands, you start to come back into your winter wonderland and look around, and everything seems brighter. You see stars up in the sky. They seem stronger. And in front of you, you notice 6 cards. They're just laid out there, and they're numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now it's your turn to pick a card. And if you feel called to, you can pick 2 cards. But whatever you feel, pick 1 or 2 cards. And again, remember if it's card number 1, card number 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. And you pick that card or cards, and you take it with you. And slowly you start to come back to this room and into this place. You say goodbye to your wolf guide, knowing that he's there for you. And bring yourself back into this room and into this time, in this place. Thank you. Well, I'll share with you what card you picked, but maybe let's do communion first. May's coming up here.
Okay, this morning when I was thinking about communion, I had an experience this week. Like most of us have these experiences and we go, oh my, I can't believe that happened. None of you have ever had that, right? Okay, Thursday, I was at home and I got a phone call from a very precious friend. And this friend said, I'm off work early and I'm going to my church, which is real close to where I live. Can I stop by and visit you? And well, Rhonda is a very dear friend for years, and I was so excited. It was all my family lived back east except for my daughter and grandkids. They're all are back there, and so I miss that. Can I drop by? I miss that so much, and so I was excited. First thing you do, you go to the kitchen and you open up the refrigerator. What can I feed her? I was so excited because she's my best friend. And so we sat down and I had made a charcuterie board. Did I say that right? Well, I got out a board and I put on there fruit and vegetables and cheese and crackers. And I had made a homemade loaf of banana bread, and I sliced that up, and I was so excited because this is family. This is a best friend. And so she came, we hugged, and sat down, and she says, "Wow, that is beautiful." And after she started saying about her church and how she had listened to a tape that was about communion. And I thought, well, that's nice. And what did you learn? She said, well, it was a story about a man whose kid, he was watching her go to a certain group of kids and sat down to eat with them. And he wondered why she sat with them. So he asked her, why did you sit with that group? Well, because they're my friends. And it was like, duh. They're my friends. And it was brought home how the communion that he was thinking of, Jesus said, do it in remembrance of me. He was with a bunch of friends. They were breaking bread together. And that's what you do with your family and your friends. And it's a time of joy. And not necessarily, like I was brought up, very strict. And you had to have the communion. You were going straight to hell if you didn't. And by the way, it was kind of, you felt very sad when you were taking the communion because Jesus died for you. And it was brought home how vicious it was. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Because of that, it was not something I really wanted to do.
Hi, everybody. That was a beautiful communion that May shared, but I apologize. It got cut off right at the end, but it was truly a blessing. But I did want to come back and just let you know, for those of you that did the meditation, what the 6 cards that you might have selected were. And what they are affirmations that you can use that can help you go into and create more joy in your life. So the first card that you picked, if you picked that, is an affirmation that says, my soul listens and hears my heart of hearts as it guides me. That's this card here. The second one is, the energy I create, I share with the whole planet. And it's just a beautiful card with stars on it, like our winter wonderland. The third card, the affirmation for that is, divine source protects me. Divine source protects me. The next card, if you picked it, so this would be card number 4, is your affirmation is, divine source breathes light into my journey. Divine source breathes light into my journey. And the 5th card is, I redefine myself through sacred awareness. I redefine myself through sacred awareness. And the last affirmation is, I freely tap into the spiritual wellspring. And boy, wasn't that the message of joy today? It's just something that is there for us to tap into. So I hope you get to use these affirmations and that they bless you, and sending you much love and much joy. And again, I apologize for our wonky technical difficulties, but love you all. Bye-bye.